Rising from the crowd, a choir begins to sound. This won't last for long. Hear the engine of a car running through my head, where our dreams like exhaust fade away in a trail of breath. Where tears can't hold, the heart will appeal. The way your voice washes over me, it's like a stereo of steel. I wanna see the sunrise fading over my dashboard, while the wind hums me a tune, I swear it's the voice of God. Yeah, I can hear the song as I hold the wheel, and it echoes and washes over me, just like a stereo of steel. And why don't we settle in to the cracks in the pavement where the water bends and lives? We can make our home where the road begins. It just sings to me just like a stereo of steel, a stereo of steel. I feel the rhythm of these four wheels dance beneath us, while you're pouring out each hill we pass and the angels look on from above. And now we pass the more I feel, hear your voice washing over me, it's like a stereo of steel. Why don't we settle in to the cracks in the pavement where the water bends and lives? We can make our home where the road begins. It should sing to me just like a stereo of steel, a stereo of steel. Why don't we settle in to the cracks in the pavement where the water bends and lives? We can make our home where the road begins. It should sing to me just like, why don't we settle in to the cracks in the pavement where the water bends and lives? We can make our home where the road begins. It's just sing to me just like a stereo of steel, a stereo of steel, a stereo of steel.
Hey, if we could have the chiefs of each organization come up, stand with us.
kick it off and go to Mike and then go to Jody and then
Why you treat me so bad, baby?
everything done.
Why you tease me? Why you gotta do me so?
All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here, or good morning, I should say. It's good to be with everybody. We're here to talk about Severe Weather Awareness Month, which starts March the 1st, and how to be prepared, which is obviously really important, and you really know that when it comes, when bad weather comes. We're also going to talk about first responders, really highly trained and very special people who show up no matter what. When nature puts us on a show that endangers or takes our lives, I think increasingly we know that Mother Nature is in charge, always has been. And we have only to remember the violent, long-tracked tornado that devastated western Kentucky to be reminded of the cost of severe weather and of the people who show up in person to help, many of you all in this room. So it's a real honor to be in the same room with so many of Louisville's professional first responders who went to western Kentucky in the hours and the days and the weeks after the devastation to help, and really, I think, show the rest of the country what great public servants do when other people need. They just go and they see, what can we do to help? They don't ask any other questions, and it's something I think that's uniquely American and uniquely Kentuckian and to our city as well. So thank you all. We'll be talking more about that here in a few minutes. Now, though the historic tornado of last December is an extreme example of it, Kentuckians obviously are no strangers to severe weather. We can remember entire years or decades because of weather events. For instance, in 1974, a super outbreak of tornadoes unleashed storms across 13 states and brought an F4 tornado to Louisville, killing 3 and injuring hundreds in Jefferson County. I can remember that still like yesterday. I was 16 years old at the time. We also know as our city before the flood, the Great Flood, and after the flood of 1937, the worst Ohio River flood in history, killing almost 200 people and inundating more than 60% of Louisville, all the way up to Broadway. And my parents grew up in West Louisville in the West End, and they still talk about that to this day. Our severe weather also includes flooding, high winds, hail damage, and lightning, and we need to do what we can ahead of time to keep ourselves and our families as safe as possible in the event of any of these weather occurrences. Now, beyond the individual events, I'd like to mention that our city is doing its part when it comes to mitigating human-induced climate change. Clearly, we're seeing more climate chaos than we have in any of our lifetimes, and that's a culprit in intensifying storms that so many areas of the world are experiencing. We have a goal of 100% clean energy for metro operations by 2035 and 100% clean energy community-wide by 2040 to reduce gas house emissions, which clearly helps the climate. So to talk about what each of us can do and have ready for our own families in case of severe weather, I'd like to welcome Mike Kochesik. He is the warning coordination meteorologist for the National Weather Service here in Louisville. Mike, thank you all for being with us.
Thank you, Mayor Fisher, Director Myman, partners, and friends. Thank you so much for your recognition today, for the contributions the talented women and men have made from the National Weather Service during the horrific tornado outbreak of December 10th into the morning of December 11th. Meteorologist in charge, John Gordon, sends his regrets that he couldn't be here today. So they sent the next tallest person with size 13 shoes, and I'm standing here in his place. But in all seriousness, though, we are honored and humbled to be here today as your public servants before, during, and after big events like these. Leading up to this event, forecasters and support staff were very busy, providing high-impact decision support services, many updates, accurate, well-collaborated forecasts, briefings, conference calls, many which you may be a part of, and ensuring our critical systems were up to date through that severe weather. During the event, numerous staff members, some that are here today, were present providing weather surveillance and the most up-to-date information in our forecasts. Tom Ray was an excellent forecaster that provided a lot of that updated situational guidance as the storms were unfolding and the situation was changing. Dan McKimming was our lead radar operator that night, providing timely, life-saving information, working long hours under lots of stressful conditions. Brian Newdorf is not here yet. He's on his way, but he had lots of experience with social media and the chat rooms and making sure that the most up-to-date information was passed along to folks like you during that event. These individuals here today were among those working and watching in real time when Bowling Green was struck, watching on the webcams in horror with power flashes in that darkness under those tornado warnings. The mood was somber that night, knowing what was occurring on their shift. Work continued, though, immediately after that event on Saturday and for days and weeks following that event to survey the destruction that was left behind. C.J. Paget was also here. He worked long hours to ensure that shifts were covered and that people were freed up to go survey a lot of that storm damage. C.J. supported by providing direction and map creation of the damaged locations so that others could go and survey that damage, compiling reports and keeping many up to date on the latest information on social media. Many other staff members not present here today spent long hours surveying those damages, rearranging personal schedules in order to make sure that Kentucky's hour of need was met before, during, and after this event. Some staff members are joining us virtually here today, including Samantha Miklowitz, and she was truly a team effort along with the folks here to make sure that the National Weather Service staff and partners here in the room provided life-saving information to those affected by the storms. But we can't do it alone, and our partnerships for you all in the room, including the media, is greatly appreciated. Emergency management worked hard and tirelessly and continues to do so to prepare our communities and those that were hardest hit by these storms. We see you as the Weather Service, and we recognize all your efforts to help us do the job of keeping our communities safe. Many stories that we heard on surveys were absolutely heartbreaking, of lost loved ones and shattered lives. There are also amazing stories of preparedness and response to these powerful storms, stories of neighbors helping neighbors, and strangers driving from miles, counties, even other states to provide help and assistance to others here in this state. Kentuckians are resilient, and they are tough. And our agency goal is to increase weather resiliency in our communities across central Kentucky, south central Indiana, and beyond. The most successful stories included those who had multiple ways of receiving warning information through NOAA weather radio, wireless emergency alerts, and communication systems like Code Red. Here's an example of a NOAA weather radio that you can get in a store, any electronics department. This one happens to be a Midland, but any brand will do. And it is something that's very important as a multiple ways to receive a warning in case your cell phone loses power, and this could save your life. Just a simple investment of $30 to $40. Some prepared emergency kits ahead of time, which is also good, with several days' supply of food, water, batteries, medications, and pet supplies. Having an emergency plan before the disaster strikes is paramount to preparedness when it does happen in your community. We are rapidly approaching severe weather season, the traditional severe weather season for Kentucky. In March 1st through 7th is Severe Weather Awareness Week, with March 2nd being the tornado drill across the state, which will happen at 10:07 Eastern Time. Now is the time to review your emergency plans with family and friends to know what you will do when damaging weather hits your community. Unfortunately, it's probably only a matter of time before it happens to us, and it's our turn to experience that impactful weather. For more information on tips for emergency plans, you can go to weather.gov/safety or ready.gov, and there's lots of great tips there to help you and your family and friends create your own emergency plan for your own designs. Again, we are truly honored and humbled as your public servants to be recognized here today and continue to be your public servants 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the most up-to-date weather information. You can interact with us on social media at NWS Louisville, and we'd be happy to share any helpful tips there and talk to you on social media platforms there as well. Thank you again. We are here for you, and appreciate the opportunity to be recognized. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. You guys did an incredible job every second of that whole horrible time, but we appreciated all that great information you gave us then and each and every day. So, and everybody remember, if you ever want to know more about severe weather, you can go to ready.gov and you'll see what's going on there. You'll find in one place all sorts of useful information about any type of severe weather. Now, we've had 6 federally declared disasters in Jefferson County since I became mayor in 2011, and all but COVID-19 have been weather-related. In addition to that, members of our emergency services teams have deployed 3 times out of state to provide water rescue resources for hurricane victims or as participants in an incident management team. And our teams, and all of you guys know, you stay ready for whatever comes because you know the meaning of, well, you never know, and if it can happen, it will happen, and it does happen. And that's why we have invested in emergency services over the past several years and will continue to do so. A multi-million-dollar radio communications upgrade that made our radios 100% interoperable among agencies, which obviously means everybody in public safety agencies can communicate with each other. We've invested in outdoor warning sirens, upgrades and infrastructure upgrades of all our